Good evening and welcome to Ukraine Brief. I'm Oleksandrivka. Today is day 1469 of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Here are the latest developments. Russian strikes continue to devastate Ukraine. In just the past 24 hours, at least 6 people have been killed and around 30 others have been injured. In the Sumy region, a Russian strike hit residential neighborhoods, setting at least one private home on fire. Local authorities said this morning that 3 people were injured in attacks across the region. In the Kharkiv region, at least 3 more people were wounded in strikes targeting civilian infrastructure. Among them were a 10-year-old girl and an 8-year-old woman. 2 others were injured in Russian attacks on the Zaporizhia region today. Officials say the region was struck nearly 800 times over the past 24 hours alone. In neighboring Donetsk, the death toll from yesterday's attacks has risen to 6, with 19 people reported injured. And across other parts of the country, 9 more people were reportedly hurt in Russian strikes. In Kherson, Russian forces targeted several locations across the city. A drone struck an apartment building, sparking a fire. As firefighters worked to put out the flames, a man was reportedly injured when Russian forces dropped explosives near the scene. Ukraine's air assault forces say they've liberated 9 settlements in the southeastern front of Ukraine, known as the Oleksandrivka sector. According to Ukraine's General Staff, Ukrainian forces are carrying out offensive operations in the area where the Dnipropetrovsk, Donetsk and Zaporizhia regions converge. The offensive has reclaimed more territory in February of 2026 than Russia managed to capture, and according to Kyiv, has inflicted heavy Russian casualties. Ukrainian commanders also say that recent restrictions on Russian access to Starlink terminals have played a key role in Kyiv's latest gains along the front line. Meanwhile, the escalating conflict in the Middle East is raising fresh questions about planned trilateral peace talks aimed at ending the war in Ukraine. Those talks are expected to take place March 5th to 6th in Abu Dhabi, but it's now unclear whether they will proceed as scheduled. Moscow said today that U.S. involvement in the Middle East would not affect the peace talks with Ukraine. However, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said today that it would be difficult to hold trilateral peace talks in Abu Dhabi. President Zelenskyy discussed the security situation today in a phone call with President of the United Arab Emirates, Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. In a social media post today, Zelenskyy pointed to potential cooperation with the UAE in defense against Iranian strikes. This comes as Kyiv offered air defense support for Gulf states yesterday in return for help brokering a ceasefire for Ukraine. President Zelenskyy called today for increased defense cooperation between Ukraine and Middle Eastern countries amid drone attacks from the Iranian regime.
З країнами Близького Сходу у нас будуються відносини.
We are building relations with Middle Eastern countries. We can do this ourselves. For example, today they have air defense systems, Patriot, PAC-3 missiles. They have all of this. It is important, very important for them above all. But does it protect against hundreds of shaheeds? As we know, the answer is no. This is not a working model. We do have a shortage of PAC-3s. For instance, if we talk about weapons, we have a pressing lack of PAC-3 missiles. If they give them to us, we will give them interceptors. It is an equal exchange. We will certainly do this. And if the teams start working now, we will see results soon.
Ukraine has received the first installment of a 4-year loan from the International Monetary Fund, totaling about $1.5 billion. The total value of the IMF support is approximately $8.1 billion. Ukraine's Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko said today the funding will be directed towards budget expenditures and supporting macro-financial stability. Sviridенko added that Ukraine continues to implement reforms aimed at strengthening state institutions and pursuing European integration. Energy Minister Denis Shmyhal said today that the Ukrainian branch of the Druzhba oil pipeline, which supplies Russian oil to Hungary and Slovakia, was severely damaged in a Russian drone strike in late January.
Regarding the situation with the Druzhba oil pipeline, there was a strike by a Russian drone on one of the largest reservoirs. This is the largest reservoir in Europe, holding 75,000 cubic meters of oil. There were 25,000 cubic meters of oil there at the time. Accordingly, part of this oil was already pumped down the pipeline at the moment when it was burning, in order to avoid a major man-made environmental disaster. The oil was actually boiling. Most of the internal equipment of the oil pipeline, various sensors and other equipment inside, was damaged by the spiking temperature. This is not visible from the outside, but it is a large amount of work. Now, Ukrainian state oil company Naftogaz is completing inspections aimed at identifying the damages. Once these are complete, an estimate will be drafted, time and necessary funds will be calculated to repair it and to be able to continue to physically operate this oil pipeline.
And with this, we conclude Ukraine Brief today. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for more here on TVP World.